Hello!
Hello AOS fans!
It's the agents of Shatterpoint.
And welcome to our first ever Shatterpoint battle report.
Woo.
We actually recorded this a few weeks ago now.
Yes, just
with summer holidays and things in between, so we may have forgotten exactly what went on, but we're going to try and commentate our way through this game. As you can see, we've set up and we've got the objective showing. We have declared that little building there that's got a googly eye on it, you can stand one standard base model on there.
No droids, please.
No droids, but anything else can stand on there should it be necessary.
With regards to setup, I don't think there's much chance of my droids getting over there because they are on the absolute opposite side of the board along with Maul. And in the centre I've got Ventress with the Mandalorians ready to start jumperating around everywhere.
And I've deployed mine in more or less a single clump. We are playing with the standard single core set models. We haven't painted up any of the other stuff yet, so we're just playing with those. So I've got Anakin, Ahsoka, and a number of clones. And of course, some Mandalorians. So I activated the clones first and immediately elected to do a defensive manoeuvre so I could dash them and gain a hunker token. And then advance them both up the ladder to hold on to the central objective, and I hunker them both again for a second token to improve their defence. So I'm controlling both objectives, but of course I don't gain anything at this stage because it is the first sort of turn. So no, you can't gain any points on the first turn.
On my first activation, I get Gar Saxon. He can immediately make one of the other Mandalorians jump ahead, so I move up Gar afterwards next to that other Mandalorian, which means he gains an automatic focus for his proximity to the other Mando. I then use his ability to jump up onto the container using his jetpack and cost me one of my force points, and then I shoot at one of the clone troopers. I gain 3 dice at this point due to his sharpshooter from the focus I got, and you lose the benefits of all your cover because of it. So you only get 2 extra dice from your hunkers.
Ouch.
I also get a hunker token after this shot as well. I managed to get 3 hits, 2 crits and 1 expertise, which means in total I get 4 successes and 2 crits.
I rolled 5 expertise,
Aww.
which sadly only translates to 2 successes.
Yay. Which means in total I get 4 successes.
So you do a whopping 6 damage, which actually nearly takes me out in one go.
Almost, but not quite. But I do then jump across the other platform to get a bit closer, and I push one of the clone troopers back and pin them. At the end of this, I'm only in control of the central objective on my side of the board, but not in the centre in the middle, so the struggle tracker does actually move one towards me this time.
So for my second activation, I draw the Shatterpoint card, which is the kind of tactical decision I don't want to ever have to make at this stage in the game. I decide to activate Bo-Katan, and that immediately triggers Pride of Mandalore, which enables me to move another Mandalorian character. So I basically jump a Mandalorian character further up the board. And then with Bo-Katan herself, I make an advance action and gain a focus. I spend a force to make another jump up onto the gantry to hold the third objective. She doesn't have the range to shoot anybody, so she hunkers down. So the struggle tracker moves back 3 because I'm holding 3 objectives.
Yep.
And ends up 2 into my half.
Oh dear. For my second activation, I then get the droids. Not really one I wanted at this point, but I wanted something a bit more dynamic, but you get what you're given. I then spend a force point to immediately put them in reserve because they're rubbish. I then draw Ventress. Ventress is much more dynamic than what I was after this early in the game. I advance her up the board and use 2 of her force jumps to leap up onto the platform into the middle with the clone troopers, because I reckon she's going to be able to do some damage to those already wounded clone troopers. I then attack them. I get 4 hits, 2 crits, and an expertise, which turns into a hit and a crit, totaling 5 hits and 3 crits.
Wow. Now, you made the classic mistake there, Pete. Everybody does with Shatterpoint. You said you'd already wounded.
Yes, I hadn't wounded.
We hadn't wounded them because we do that all the time.
Wounds, injuries, damage. Yeah,
so I was damaged, not wounded.
You were damaged.
But I am now going to be wounded because I only rolled 2 expertise. She was 1 success, so you basically get 7 successes. So you have now wounded the stormtroopers, and we forgot to move the struggle tracker when you did that.
Yes. The minute you wound somebody, you move the struggle tracker one back. But I kind of overdid it there because they only had a couple of damage left on them. So I strain them, disarm them, and expose them, and I'm then pushing one of them 3 away with my free force push, which is normally 2 force points, and I shove him miles away. I now control 2 objectives and pull the struggle tracker back to the centre, which adds another token to either side for us.
Yes. So in response to Ventress for my 3rd activation, I draw the Mandalorians. So I spend a force point so both of them can make a jump action. One up alongside the centre objective without getting too close to Ventress, and the other one just follows up. Both then advance further across the field to capture the objective on the left flank and then turn to open fire on Ventress. The first roll I get 2 successes, but you managed to completely cancel them.
Yep.
And second time I got a crit and 2 hits, but you gets a success and 3 expertise, which is enough to completely cancel it again. She's got a charmed life as Ventress.
She's a bit brutal.
But at the end of that activation, I do control 3 objectives, and I move the counter back 3 into my territory.
For my 3rd go, I draw the Shatterpoint card. So I decide to activate Ventress again because she's right in the middle of it right now, so she might be able to do a lot more. First, she jumps down and advances across to that 2nd objective, and then she uses a force point to jump over top of the Mando to ensure that any pushes she gets during the subsequent attack push you further away from it, so get the positioning. I then attack and only miss once.
Well, I only get 1 success.
Which means I go across the entire skill tree on her damage charts, which is pretty brutal. I do 9 damage in total, which is enough to wound the Mando straight away, so I should be moving, adding another counter onto the table, but I completely forgot again.
Yeah.
I then also pin them, as well as using my force push to shove them 3 away.
Okay. But, talking of forgetting things, I completely forgot I can use... Ahsoka has a special reaction to use when fighters are wounded. So for when the clones are injured, she advances up and removes 3 condition from those clones, all those lovely conditions you've got. She just takes it off. And then the response to this actual activation, she runs towards Ventress, taking cover by the wall, and removes that ping condition that the Mandos suffered.
I then claim 3 objectives, which moves it straight back to the centre again. I still can't get it over onto my side of the board, so we both then get another struggle counter.
And we have been forgetting to add momentum tokens, not move the token when somebody's wounded. So
yes.
We even got wrong the way we played the rule wrong.
Yeah.
It's the kind of quality you can expect from Agents of Sigmar. For my 4th activation, I draw Ahsoka!
Oh, what?
So first I move her up to the base of the ladder and she climbs up the top to attack Gar Saxon. And I get 5 successes and 2 crits.
I only get 1 success, which means you end up with 6 successes in total.
So I do a whopping 8 damage.
Not quite enough to wound him.
No, he's a bit tougher, old Gar Saxon. But I do shove him off the tower. And then I jump back behind the tower a little bit to try and block off some line of sight. Not that that happens very often. But I do pin him and push him 1 more time, which gives me back control of 3 objectives again, and I push the struggle tracker 3 back into my half.
Onto my turn, and I finally draw Lord Maul. I run him up to the ladder for his first activation, and then I use his force ability to run across the platform and jump off again, taking a wound instead of using force points, because the more he gets wounded, the nastier he gets in combat. He then takes 2 more wounds to use his other ability to pull Ahsoka towards him off of the tower and exposing her at the same time. I then roll for my attack and I get 8 dice now because he's got 3 damage on him, and I get 6 successes and 2 crits and 1 extra damage because of the expertise rolls I'd got.
Dice rolls are on fire today. I can't use expertise because she's exposed, but I do jammily roll 5 successes.
And that's the first success you've rolled all game, and it's the first time you needed successes instead of expertise.
And I only got 1 expertise.
This means I only get 3 pips on his combat tree, and Maul, whilst he's quite nasty, his combat tree is not great early on. You do take 6 damage, but you spend 2 force points at this stage to halve that and put 3 back onto Maul himself.
Yes, the absolutely brilliant what's the matter too fast for you abilities. 2 force, but it's well worth using.
Yeah,
especially against Maul.
Yeah, it's against any gen. I think to be able to do that damage for free almost, it's a fantastic ability. I do then strain Ahsoka, but sadly I can't get a jump in to get back up to that objective. I just needed 1 more success, 1 more pip on that, and I would have been able to make the jump.
5 successes were clutch there.
I now control 2 objectives, so I pull the struggle tracker 2 my way, but because it's still in your half, that means I get another pip added to my side. I should have about 4 now at least, I think, or 5.
So for activation 5, I get Bo-Katan's actual card. I spend a force to put her in reserve, and I draw Anakin, who is unfortunately very, very far away. So yeah, so Anakin's going to limp up the board. I spend my last force point to jumping forwards, and then I advance Anakin and attack Maul. So I rolled, and I got a crit and 5 successes.
I got 1 success and 3 expertise, and those 3 expertise translate into a second success, 1 heal, and a jump.
Ooh, what's going on there then? So I've got 4 successes, which does 8 damage to you.
That does wound him as well.
Yeah, it triggers all sorts of things off, doesn't it?
Yes, loads goes on there.
So we actually remembered, because Anakin can move the struggle tracker towards him, so he does that. Maul gained a strained effect, and then I used Anakin, and I jumped him up onto the tower.
I then used Maul's expertise jump as well to follow him.
Oh, it's very exciting. When Anakin wounds an enemy primary unit or an enemy secondary unit, after the effect is resolved, I can move the struggle token 1 space forward to my momentum tokens, which we did. But then if the wounded unit is a primary unit, each Galactic Republic unit may heal 1. So all my Galactic Republic unit, which is basically all of them, I think, apart from the Mandos.
I then used Maul's revenge ability. Revenge, I must have revenge. To make a dash and attack Anakin. Because Maul has all the damage tokens on him, because he's taken all the damage before he got wounded, they don't come off until he activates again. No. So because of that, I get 3 extra dice on my attack, and I don't miss with a single dice.
Ouch, ouch, ouch. I get 4 expertise again. Oh, I'm rolling those expertise today. That translates directly to 2 successes, and I also downgrade one of your crits to a success.
This all means that I end up with 5 successes in total, which means I put 9 damage onto Anakin.
Not quite enough to kill him. He's just or wound him. He's just hanging on there. But you do just shove me off the ledge. I do just shove you off the ledge. But because I have wounded Maul, you can't contest that objective, which I think you're now standing closest to. But I still get 3. Yeah, and you're only 1 away from winning this struggle already. I then draw Kalani, the super tactical droid. Now I immediately use his ability to move both the other droids, and then I move the droid up around the walkway and open fire on Ahsoka. I get 3 crits and 3 hits from my 3 expertise. Oh, but I get 5 successes. Ow. This only results in 1 success total for me, translating to just 2 damage to you. And to add insult to injury, because I rolled a fail, I then take another 2 damage from Ahsoka's deflect ability. Oh, I do like a bit of deflect. At the end of that, I then score 2 more because I hold 2 objectives, but it's still in your half, which means I get another momentum token. For my 6th activation, I draw Captain Rex. He uses Get a Move On Soldier. He chooses himself and dashes forwards to the ladder and up onto the walkway and gains a hunker token. He then runs along that walkway, shoots at the droids at the end of the platform. I get 1 crit and 4 successes. I only get 1 success. So you take 3 damage and take a pin token, and I push them back twice. And we forgot at this point that you can also follow up when you push people back. We completely forgot about that. Yes, it was about 3 weeks after we discovered that. Yeah. I gain 3 points, which gives me the first struggle. Bing, 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 bing. So now we're on to struggle 2. We picked the new mission, and it means that there are now 2 potential objectives on my side of the board that will be the primary objective, and only 1 in the middle of your deployment zone. So that gives me a little bit more chance to catch up now. I then roll to determine which is the priority objective, and it ends up being the one on my very left flank. Luckily, on my 6th activation, I then draw the Mandos, which are on my left flank. They then make a move towards the objective and use their free jump to then leap up onto the top of the ruins and then hunker down on top of that objective, which means I gain 2 points on the struggle tracker, as I'm currently not close to the other objective, unfortunately, on the other side. But 2 points is 2 points. 2 points is 2 points, yes. So I rolled a success when trying to roll for the primary objective, and it switches to the one on my side of the table. Oh, jammy. So activation 7, I've got 1 card left. She's left in reserve. It's Bo-Katan Cruise. Activating triggers the Pride of Mandalore, which means I can jump an allied Mandalorian character. I pick 1 to jump back towards the objective at the back. Unfortunately, it doesn't give that objective to me because they're wounded from their earlier encounter with Ventress. And then I just advance Bo-Katan up the table because there's no objectives around. I'm not sure I'm ever going to chase this objective down, but I charge her up the table and then try and shoot at your Mandalorians on top of that building. I get 4 successes, but you get 5. I get 5 because they're hunkered down and they're in cover, so they're pretty protected at the moment. Yes. At that point, the struggle tracker doesn't move, and we determine from the rules that because it didn't move at all, that means that you don't get a momentum. Kind of makes sense because I didn't.
So on my 7th activation I roll the dice and I get the same primary objective as last time when the man who's already set up shop. So I'm going to try too hard for that one. I might as well try and get the one on my right flank with those droids that I have in reserve that are just sitting there on my right flank. I don't move one of the units because they have a pin marker, so that gets removed, and I move the second base up to hold the objective. I then fire with the forward unit and a Sokar. Unfortunately both of them can't reach, so I just go for the one and I get 6 successes.
But I roll 5. I'll settle for that.
That means I only get 1 success and cause 1 damage, but I didn't roll any fails on my attack, so I don't take any damage this time. There would be an extra salt in the wound if I did 1 damage to you and you did 2 to me.
Due to the number of expertise I rolled, Ahsoka can make a jump. She leaps up onto the platform.
You've got to bear these things in mind. You can't just shoot at people and hope you'll take wounds off them because they might suddenly trigger something and do really annoying things like that.
Yeah. I
then score 3 points this time because I hold 1 objective and the primary objective, which takes me up to 5 on my side.
So I reshuffle my deck and regenerate my force points, and then I roll off for objective and ends up with the one that Pete already holds with the Mandos on the right flank. Whee! I draw the clone troopers who were wounded, so they flip to injured. I spend a force, probably should have been 2 force, to dash 1 back towards the objective and the other towards the centre of the board.
We just looked at the 3rd stage objectives at this point and we worked out which ones were more likely to be target objectives in the 3rd round.
Yeah. I can't see myself clawing back struggle 2 at all. So I hunker again, I do score 1 point, which pulls a struggle tracker back to me, and I gain a momentum token.
For my 8th activation, I shuffle all my cards, renew my force points, and then I roll for the primary objective, and I get the one held by the Mandos again. They definitely get man and women of the match for this one.
Mandos of the match.
Mandos of the match. So I know I'm going to be winning this struggle regardless because I'm going to get 3 points. I then draw the battle droids, and I decide to use them because it will get them out of the way and give me more tasty things to draw at the beginning of the 3rd struggle, and hopefully give me more chance of winning that 3rd struggle. The droids then shoot at Ahsoka, utilising both of their proximity to each other and the super tactical droid to get an extra dice, and I end up with 4 successes.
But I get 3.
So this only results in 1 damage again, which isn't enough to even injure her, but I can then put an exposed effect on her for the 2nd volley from the other droids.
I roll 4 expertise.
Which you can't use
because
you're
I'm
exposed. And I get 5 successes this time, so Ahsoka is now wounded.
She is.
She takes 8 damage from my roll, and I add another struggle tracker to the...
So what you mean is you add another momentum token to the struggle tracker?
Exactly what I meant to say. Ahsoka is then exposed again and also strained, but the droids also take 2 damage because I did get a fail on that one, which means you could bounce some shots back at me. I then gain 3 points and I win the 2nd struggle.
So I pick the 3rd struggle and decide to go with the middle orientation. And then I draw the Mandalorians. So they revert from wounded to injured. One advances around to the ladder on one side and clambers up to the top of the platform. The other does the same on the other side, and they both gain a focus. The furthest trooper then fires upon the tactical droid, gaining 2 extra dice due to the focus. And I get 6 successes.
I only get 2.
Leaving you with 4 in total, so you take 4 damage.
Ouch.
But I also pin him, disarm him, and shove him twice. And in your face, droid.
We forget about you being able to follow up. Yes. I'm not sure you'd want to in that situation because you've got hold of that central objective quite nicely there.
So I then, even though I'm close to Maul, I can shoot him because Maul is wounded.
Yep, so he's not engaged.
So I'm basically just trying to move him. I get 4 successes.
Versus my 2.
So I win by 2, which is enough to pin Maul, and more importantly for me, I think shove him off the ledge.
Get him as far away as possible.
Yeah. So then I gain 3. So it puts 3 points into my half.
For my 9th activation, I draw Gar Saxon. And first off, I jump one of the Mandos from their perch up on that edge to try and get them more involved again. I then forget to roll to see which primary objective it moves to, so by default we leave it on your side of the board. So I assume that one's the one I've got to try and go for, which I can't get, so I just concentrate on other things.
In the heat of the moment, yes. Forget these things.
I then decided there's no point in moving Gar because he's already holding the objective on my side. I'll just shoot at the stormtroopers in the face.
So I got 3 successes.
But I didn't get a single fail and total 6 successes, which means I get 3 in total.
So you deal 5 damage to me.
I then jump Gar forwards towards the central objective and shove one of your guys back slightly. I then remember I don't want to jump Gar away because then I won't control that objective, so I just shove him back again. I then score 1 point because I'm holding one objective on my side, and I pull the struggle backer back to 2 onto your side, which means I get a momentum token.
So we have now remembered to put momentum tokens
We have started to remember. We're getting there.
So I roll for primary objective and I get the central objective, which I already hold.
Oh, it's not looking good.
Oh, sorry about that. I draw Rex, who immediately dashes and gains a hunger token, and then I open fire on the heavily damaged Gar Saxon. I get 5 successes.
And I only get 3.
Which wins by 2, which is enough damage to wound Gar and shove him twice before advancing down off the walkway onto the objective.
Oh dear, you hold all 3 now.
Yeah, so I get a momentum token 2 on my side, and then score 4.
And
so this is
literally a pip away from winning it.
A good use of Rex there.
For my 10th activation, I roll to see where the primary objective lands, but it shifts back onto the one in your objective.
So when you remember to roll it, it was still my half anyway.
Yes, yeah, it just shows that sometimes I can't catch a break. I then draw the Mandos, which is absolutely no use to me because they're right over in that corner. So I put them in reserve and spend a force point, and then I pick Ventress.
Oh.
I use her force jump to get her close to the objective and then advance right up onto it. She then attacks the poor, unfortunate stormtrooper holding it, and again I get no misses.
Oh, I get 2 successes.
But I total 8, meaning I get to move the full end-to-end on my combat tree, which means I do 4 damage because I changed her stance to the one that has more pushes in it.
Right.
And then I push him away using her powerful force push to shove him 3 away. At the end of that, I score 2 points, which pulls it a little bit back away from your side, and I gain a momentum token on my side because it's still on your side. You do need 3 to win.
3 to win. Can I do it? So I roll to determine the primary objective, and I get the one that's on Pete's side of the board, which I already hold, and therefore I claim victory immediately.
Boo.
I draw I draw my card. It was a Shatterpoint card, which means that really, wherever the primary landed, I could have won it because I could just swarm the objective Ventress was holding.
Yes, because even the one Ventress was holding, you only have to move 2 people near it. You haven't even got to get her away from it. You've got enough bodies to take off it.
Just move my clones or whatever, just to get
anybody
in. So I did kind of steal that. I think we made a few rule mistakes there, which I think, as often is the way when we make rules mistakes, they seem to favour me.
Yeah,
I'm not sure why that is.
I think a lot of it is just because it was like literally our second game, and some of it is not immediately obvious for when you wound somebody, moving or adding a momentum token on, that kind of stuff. It's a little bit breaks the sequence a little bit. So I don't think we missed too much other than that, though.
Well, I'm sure people will comment below what we missed, what we should have done, how we didn't do it right.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy this game. In some ways, I almost don't want to know how I've been doing it wrong. You know what I mean? I can't ever see me playing this competitively. I know it's got quite a competitive feel.
No, I definitely couldn't.
It's just, I just find it really fun, incredibly cinematic. The bit where Maul and Anakin were fighting each other, and I wounded you, and then you leapt up.
And then we both leap up, and then I attack you back, and all this kind of stuff.
It's just brilliant stuff, brilliantly cinematic.
And the thing I really love about this game, and it's probably another whole video that we could do to discuss this kind of stuff, is that I really love how the manoeuvrability of all the units. Holding an objective doesn't mean that you've just got that objective, unlike in certain games like 40k, if you pile a load of bodies onto an objective, you've probably then just got that. I do like the fact that everybody's got lots of manoeuvrability, and that really is key to this game. Another thing we forgot is that obviously when you shove people, you can follow up, and that's a big factor as well. It helps you to push people away.
Or even the little sort of weaker units can be vital in winning games. Yeah,
especially with just adding things onto people, like making them exposed or disarming them, stuff like that can really cripple a fighter. So, and hopefully as we play more games, we'll get faster and we'll get better at it, and we'll make less mistakes.
Ooh, that seems unlikely.
So we'll see you soon in a galaxy far, far away.